Set news. We'll take the top stories in cryptocurrency and digital assets and break them down into bite-sized pieces. Before we get started, let's do a little housekeeping. So, first of all, this is for entertainment purposes only. I am not a financial advisor, a financial analyst, or anything that has to do with finances. I am just a small business owner that has a keen interest in cryptocurrencies and digital assets. Second thing is, if you could help us, this would be great. Just do one of these three things. Very small thing to do, free to do. One of those things is to hit the like button. That helps us slay the YouTube algorithm. Or if you could put a comment below, anything that pertains to the video. If you like it or you think it sucks, doesn't matter. Just put something in the comments below. And also, if you could subscribe, that would be fantastic. Now, let's get into the one big story. Actually, there's two big stories. The first one is about Ripple. Ripple put out a post yesterday, yesterday, and it talks about the year of the digital asset. And Ripple is not one known to put out a lot of information about what they think is going to happen as far as the future. This article is so interesting because it talks about where they believe Ripple, not just Ripple, but where the cryptocurrency and digital asset market is going to go, and not just 2, 3, 5 years, just next year, just 2020. And that's what makes this so fascinating. But also, so we're going to talk about that, but I'm also going to look at XRP price as it relates to the halving and as we see it compared to the price of Bitcoin, how Bitcoin has gone up from each halving to their all-time high. And this number is extremely attainable. I don't see how there could be any problem with attaining this number. Now, again, not financial advice, not telling you what to do, but however, for me, this is an exciting price, and this is actually an exciting time to be a part of digital assets. So let's get into it. So it talks about, this is what Ripple, the whole Ripple team states, and they pretty much came together for this article, and it's what a lot of people are talking about. But they state that we expect three major themes to develop. First one, digital assets underpin consumer financial products. Now, XRP is a digital asset custom designed to facilitate cross-border payments. A number of companies, including MoneyGram and GoLance and applications, have endorsed this use case, and we anticipate even more will join the adoption curve over the coming year. What's great about XRP is that it has not only real-world utility, but it's being used right now, right this second. And it's being used for $100 million transfers as far as MoneyGram goes. Speaking of utility, did you know that Ripple and XRP have partnered with over 200 different banks? You can see them all right here. So, real use case, they're saving these groups, these banks, tremendous amount of money and time. And if you're a business owner like myself, you know that there's really two things I'm concerned with: saving myself time and making the maximum amount of profit that I possibly can. So if I have a different resource that I can use that cuts my expenses down by 80 to 90%, and it saves me hours, days in work and time, it sounds like a real winner. So if you look at the different digital assets that are out there, most of them are just speculation. They're not doing shit. They're just sitting there and saying, we can do this, we might be able to do this. And this is the problem with this space right now. There are too many different projects out there that maybe they've launched, but they've done so little. And will they actually make it? And I'm going to tell you right now, as we go forward through this article, you're going to see how the majority, the vast, 99% at minimum, will be wiped away because they are worthless. All right, keeping going on, it says mobile wallets will enter the blockchain and crypto industries in a big way. That's what their prediction is. And I thought about this. I said, well, is that true? And then when I looked about it, take a look at, as far as mobile wallets, blockchain wallets on phones. Look at this right here. There's 5 right now, and there's more coming to the market. There's one from a Node 6 Plus. I have no idea what that is. Then they got the Note 10 Clayton phone, and where is this from? Looks like this is only in Korea. Where does it say this? South Korea only, Southeast Asia, China for now. Well, hey, Those are pretty big countries. But look at this one, Galaxy S10. This was available in March 2019. It's worldwide. It has a decentralized app, cold wallet, and you can store up to 33 different cryptocurrencies. A Galaxy S10. That's pretty mainstream. How about this HTC Exodus 1? This was available in 2018. It's sold worldwide. And then the Finny, I don't know what that is, also sold worldwide. These are just 5 different phones right now that you can get. Now, moving forward in 2020, there are even more phones talking about this. And I don't know about you, but I've got a smartphone, and I use it all the frickin' time. I use it for everything. It's always there. So can you imagine blockchain on phones in a consistent manner throughout hundreds of different devices? That's called mass adoption, my friend. So I see that makes a lot of sense. Moving forward, it talks about the different parts of Ripple state that the adoption will continue expanding to include new credit and loan products. And they're talking about different types of cryptocurrency digital assets. The first to emerge in developing markets like Kenya, Nigeria, and parts of Latin America, where the need is most acute. Now, I thought about this and I thought, well, who the hell needs a bank? Isn't everybody banked? Well, no, they're not all banked. If you take a look at the unbanked, just in the United States, there's roughly 330 million people in the United States, and 55 million of those people are unbanked. They do not have a bank. If you do not have a bank, it is a barrier and it is a roadblock for poverty. It's hard to move past that when you don't have a bank to store your currencies. Now, moving forward, we can take a look at, well, what's the global? How does this look globally? Well, globally, 69% of adults, or 3.8 billion people, billion with a B, have an account at a bank or mobile money provider. Crucial step in escaping poverty. Yeah, so that means that 30% of the people in the world have no access to a bank. So what happens when you get paid? You just store it in your mattress? You just bury it somewhere? You have it tied up in goods or services or something like that? You have a barter system? Imagine these different locations. They start to become banked because all they need is a cell phone. Lots of areas of the world have a cell phone, but they do not have a bank. So if they can use a product like XRP or some other type of digital asset or cryptocurrency, yes, I can see it. Makes total sense. Moving forward, it says they'll be aided by friendlier regulations toward digital assets, which will also make them more attractive to tech companies seeking paths to expansion. Look, if you're a tech company and you're like, hey, we can grab another 30% of the market in the world, you better believe they're going to come on board. Not everybody is a first world country, but third world countries, yes, there's still money there. They're developing, and who knows what they could be in 10, 20, 30 years. So I can see that too. It makes sense. Also, moving forward, it talks about an interesting solution, which is purchase solutions for tourists and travelers that no longer rely on cards or card rails taking root in 2020. So imagine this. Japanese tourist is visiting Thailand. They could buy goods using a mobile app or QR code, triggering an immediate cross-border payment from their Japanese yen account to their Thai baht merchant's account. So it doesn't matter where you go or where you're from. Let's say you're an American, like myself, and I say, well, I want to go to Russia. All right. You go there, you have that pain in the ass process of transferring over dollars to rubles, whatever the hell they use over there. And now you're like, okay, now you have to do this exchange rate. You're like, well, how much for that? Like, oh, you're American. Well, it's, a billion rubles for this piece of bread. I don't know. But imagine not having to go through that process, paying those fees, and just whipping out your phone and going, how much is that? Okay, great. Here's the QR code. Scan that, champ. And off you go. That'd be awesome. Cross-border payments, everything is seamless. With XRP, you know that you can do that across the world. It only takes a couple of seconds, not minutes, not days or weeks like shitty Swift, which takes 3 to 5 days, sometimes longer if it doesn't even make it. So yeah, that makes a total amount of sense. That'd be great, especially as we march into the global economy moving forward. All right. So the second part of this, it talks about institutional adoption of digital assets accelerates. Institutional players must embrace the technology. We anticipate that just such a wave of institutional adoption will begin in 2020 with more traditional firms deploying digital asset and blockchain-based solutions. No kidding. So there's another video I talked about of these old school, old guard financial institutions like Fidelity. Fidelity now deals with Fidelity Digital Assets, and they're going to get into the Bitcoin, Ethereum game for sure. Don't know about the other different digital assets, but yeah, when you see something like Fidelity or something like Ameritrade getting into the game of digital assets, it's game over. Because look, a lot of people, if you're 40 and above, like myself, you're kind of like, what the hell is this? And how do I transfer this? And then I have to use this complex code to transfer. And I hear about all these hacks, and I hear on the news that this is all for, really bad stuff like funding terrorism and Silk Road and buying, crack cocaine, whatever it is, which is ridiculous. You don't want to invest in this. However, when you see something like Fidelity, been around for decades. Look, Fidelity used to have my 401k, Ameritrade, and the ones that are going to get into it later. Now you're like, well, I don't trust Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, but I trust Ameritrade and Fidelity. So if they say it's okay, cool, it's okay. And you know why? Because people are lemmings and they cannot think for themselves. So when you have the old guard come in and go, yeah, we're cool with this, people are like, okay, good enough for me. And before you know it, people start to come in. Then as the momentum builds, then everybody's around you going, hey, what's going on? I don't want to miss out on this. I need to buy this. And all of a sudden FOMO, before you know it, you have institutional investors, which will drive the next mass adoption. But also you're going to have those regular people, just the retail investors coming in and going, wow, I also have to do this. So everybody's FOMOing. If you remember in 2017, there was no institutional investors. There was none of that. It was just a bunch of retail investors going, that sounds good. And they would get into it and it drove the price up to 20,000. Now, take that, extrapolate this to 2020, where you have all these people coming in. And it's not just 1 to 3% of the population. Now you're looking at 10, 20, 30, 40% of the population going, that sounds good, I want to do that. And you can see the possibilities happening in 2020. Let's move forward. I digress. All right. CEO Brad Garlinghouse is even bolder, predicting that half of the top 20 biggest banks in the world will actively hold and trade digital assets in 2020. He is also one of the many on the team that believes fiat currencies will go digital in the next year. Sure, I can see that. Central banks, there's a thing called a CBDC, the central bank digital coins. They are coming, and you have to have each blockchain talk to each other because they are in a walled garden. So how are you going to do that? You need a bridge currency. XRP might do it, Ethereum might do it, I don't know, some of the other ones might do it, but you're going to need something because everything's on the blockchain and it has to talk to each other. So we'll see. Moving down into our last section, the crypto industry evolves to keep pace. This expanded adoption of digital currencies, like we just talked about, by mainstream and national institutions will also have an impact on the industry supporting the tech. Specifically, Ashish and Brianne, these are two people that work for Ripple, part of their team. They both expected to produce a wave of consolidation amongst crypto exchanges. I'm going to get into something that's going to make a lot of sense in a little bit, but Brad Garlinghouse talks about this. A lot of people talk about this. There's a term called shitcoins. You ever heard of it? Well, a lot of these coins out there, if they have no utility, they have really no use, they're redundant, and they're just a bunch of coins that are sitting out there, or cryptocurrencies that are just sucking up space, and they need to be eliminated because they don't do shit. So what we need to see is that a consolidation. Imagine this market right now is around 188, 190 billion, and that's December 20, 2019. I don't know when you're watching this video, but things are going to change. Imagine taking those 3,000 digital assets, cryptocurrencies, and soaking them all into like a top 30. Top 30 make it. The other ones just go to zero, and that's just how it is. And I think that's what has to happen. So it states here, consolidation will enable companies to grow from regional to global players and better compete. And I want to give you an example. In the late 1800s, 1850s or so, oil, natural gas, became a big part of the global economy. So how did that all work? What had to happen was production of the car came out. We needed more oil, we needed more gas, we needed more of these types of finite resources. And this is just a history of the Industrial Revolution or the oil industry. I'm going to link it below so you can read the whole article. It's very long, but this is the crux of it. One of those who heard about the discovery was John D. Rockefeller. I'm sure you've heard of him. Because of his entrepreneurial instincts and his genius for organizing companies, Rockefeller became a leading figure in the U.S. oil industry. And this is when everything started in 1859. By 1901, let me scroll down. In 1901, one of the largest and most significant oil strikes in history occurred near Beaumont, Texas, right where I live, on a mound called Spindletop. Drillers brought in the greatest gusher ever seen within the United States. The strike ended and possibly monopolized by Standard Oil. 1 year after the Spindletop discovery, more than 1,500 oil companies have been charted. Of these, fewer than a dozen survived, just like what's happening with cryptocurrency. So you can see how there is the beginning part of a new revolution, a digital revolution, just like we had it with websites, the dot-com bubble and everything else. Things start to expand. We don't need all that stuff. And then all of a sudden, only the ones that are actually good actually survive. That's why you see the Amazons. That's why you don't have 1,000 different e-commerce sites out there. You have a lot of them, but not like you used to. You have Amazon, and that sucks up about 50 to 60% of all e-commerce online. Also, for like the browsers, different browsers, there's only like 3 or 4. There used to be a ton of them back then. And not to mention, if you take a look at Google, before, really everybody uses Google, let's be honest. Google is everywhere. But when the dot-coms came in, there was like 20 different types of search engines out there, but they all had to die because there was only one that was really needed. So why need all this? Why use all this excess stuff? Same thing with oil, same thing with cryptocurrency. And as a matter of fact, Rockefeller became so big in oil, they actually had to break him up in 1911 because he had a monopoly. That's how much he consolidated everything. Now, with digital assets, we'll see if that happens, but I don't think that's how it works in this case. So anyhow, little history lesson. Let's go back. Consolidation being driven more by the interest in digital assets and blockchain from institutional brands. She predicts an increased focus on true volumes, subdued retail interest in exchanges, and the appearance of more institutional grade exchanges will combine to spark a wave of consolidation as companies compete to add volume and customers. So in 2017, the whole parabolic movement as far as cryptocurrencies going up was all pretty much spurred on by retail interest and investment. Now it's going to be pushed by the institutional investment, and you can see behind closed doors, they're all doing it. They're all getting ready. And 2020, I believe, will be one of those years where things take off, because 2018 and 19 sucked. But you have to build the infrastructure to make things run smoothly as time goes on, and this is the time. All right, so last part of this article, Brad Garlinghouse states, the world doesn't need 2,000 digital assets. While I don't think there will be one coin to rule them all, it's clear that if an asset doesn't have a proven use case beyond speculation, it is not going to survive. So right now, I know you have your coin in the back of your mind. It's like, well, no, it's really good, and I heard it's going to be great. You got to really think to yourself, is it being used? Does it have utility? Is there another type of cryptocurrency, digital asset, or legacy system that does a better job? You have to really think about that and say to yourself, is this one of those things that's going to make it? Or is it just the 99% that is going to go to zero, like what most people predict? All right. So to sum it all up, these 3 evolving trends will together likely fuel what Brian calls the next major push for the digital asset market. Growing institutional comfort level with digital asset use cases, increased regulatory clarity in the United States, hopefully, and the next Bitcoin halving by May of 2020 will all lead to the next large adoption cycle. So let's hope so. So speaking of that, one more thing. And this is for you listening to this video. Did you know you're really the 1%? This is what A lot of politicians are talking about it. Well, you, my friend, are the 1%. You are on the very, very leading cutting edge of what's going to happen. Today's first movers, you, will have an enormous role to play in delivering that change for tomorrow. So you, me, Ripple, Bitcoin, Ethereum, these are types of early adopters, and we are sitting on the precipice of skyrocketing this whole industry, and it's going to be a wild ride, and I can't wait to go through it. Now, speaking of that Bitcoin halving, let me show you something. So if we looked at digital assets, cryptocurrency, and we compare it to how everything is going to move. So we know that right now, everything moves in tandem with Bitcoin, okay? So let's take a look. There was what's a halving is when, and this was put into place in the white paper by Satoshi Nakamoto for Bitcoin, and hopefully I explained this right, hopefully I don't butcher it, but essentially every 4 years, everything gets cut in half. So the rewards of the miners, instead of making, gosh, what was it? 25 Bitcoin, now they make 12 and a half, and then in 2020 it's going to be 6.5 per block. I mean, it's something super low, and everything just kind of reduces, so it gets harder and harder to find or mine this Bitcoin. And what that does is that means that there now becomes a scarcity of Bitcoin. There's only 21 million, right? So if we already have, let's say, 18 million mined, right? And then 3 to 4 million have already been lost because people have lost them over the years. You can't get them back. And now it's going to take us, 20, 30 years to mine the rest. That's a huge shortage. So if you believe in supply and demand, where there's demand and you also have a shortage, it will drive up the price. So the first halving, the date of the halving was November 28, 2012. Bitcoin was created in 2009. At that time, the price of the halving was $12.31. That was on November 28, 2012. Ooh, so long ago. And then at that point, this is how much Bitcoin cost, $12.31. Within 1 year of that date of the halving, the demand went up, supply went down, supply and demand, there's a scarcity. Within 1 year, the price went from $12.31 to almost $1,000. That's an increase of almost 8,000%. Amazing, right? But it gets even better. So in the second halving, which happened in 2016, in a year and a half, on December 16, 2017, we reached our all-time high of Bitcoin. And that all-time high on December 16, 2017 was $19,535. Now, the price at the halving of that second one, it started at $650 on July 9, 2016. In a year and a half, it went to almost 20,000. So that was an increase by a mere 2,902%. So if you take the first halving to the second halving, it reduced by about a third. So okay. So there's a third halving coming up. And this halving is going to happen around May 16th, May 2020, right? Some people say May 12th, some people say May 11th. Not for sure. It's in May 2020, right? So a conservative look at this, and there's three ways to look at it. There's the conservative. There's another one I have called the Tim Draper. Another one I have called the McAfee. And the date, so if it went from 1 year to 1.5 years in the second halving, maybe it's going to take 2 years to reach our all-time high. So let's say that the price of the halving is 10,000. Kind of reasonable. It's around 7,000 right now. Let's say that it goes up, instead of 3,000%, it only goes up 1,000%. Okay, so in 2 years, so we're looking at May 16th, 2022, you're going to have $100,000 Bitcoin. Sure. Now, that's the most conservative view I can find. If you look at a Tim Draper says, no, it's not going to take 2 years. It's going to take 6 months to a year. So we could be looking at December 2020, in 1 year, having 100,000, and he believes it might be 250,000 for Bitcoin. So great. That is Bitcoin. Now, how does that compare with XRP? What's happening? Let's take a look. So here's what happened with XRP. So first of all, XRP wasn't created in 2009. It was around August 2013. That's the earliest data that I can find. When it first came out, it was a fraction of a penny. It was half of a penny. And that was, so the date of the halving was 2012, but okay, August 2013. By the time of the all-time high of December 2nd, 2013, for this first halving, which, you know, took about a year for Bitcoin, we went from a half a penny all the way to 6 cents. And that was in a relatively August, September, October, November, December, 4 months, 5 months. It's pretty good. It's not too bad, right? 56x. Oh, I wish I would have invested then. Which would have been about a 1,200% increase. Okay, great. But here's where it gets crazy. And I mean crazy. In the second halving, which we know, the halving took place in 2016. Year and a half later, the all-time high of Bitcoin was in December 2017. On that date, on or around that date, the all-time high of XRP was $3.40. And the price of the halving in 2016 was actually went down pretty low. It was 0.007, fraction of a penny. It went from a fraction of a penny to $3.40. Can you imagine? That is, from one to the other, you're looking at 40x. From the price itself, you increased by 56x. You went from 6 cents of an all-time high to $3.40. Amazing. Can you imagine for every 6 cents, you get $3.50? That's amazing. I mean, it boggles my mind, but this is what's going to be even crazier. So let's think about it. Let's say a conservative number. Let's say it doesn't go up 112% in the next one. Let's say it only doesn't do so hot. It only does about 28x. Because look, we know with Bitcoin, I mean, it's going to go up 10x essentially. XRP has room to run. So let's say it goes up by 28x. You're looking at $100. $100. I mean, that's not bad. We'll take that. But let's say it even goes up 10x. $30. Who wouldn't like a $30 XRP? That's amazing. Now that's a very conservative view. Let's say it goes up 56x. So now you're looking at $200. But let's say it even doubles. Now you're looking at around $400. That's amazing. Okay, so now that everybody's mind's blown, I'm just gonna say thanks. Thanks for watching this video. I know it went a little long, but if you can see the potential. Now again, this is not financial advice. I'm not telling you to go sell your house and put it all into XRP. That'd be just stupid. But think about, you know, what the potentials are and where you think this could go. Do your own research, take a look at it. But if you're watching this video right now, I gotta tell you, my friend, you are in the right place at the right time. I have been in this since early 2017, and I can tell you that timing couldn't be better. Anyhow, thanks for watching this. I really appreciate it. Do us a favor, if you could just like the video, a little comment if you think this is total bullshit, or if you think it makes a lot of sense, it's good, it's bad, whatever else, and then consider subscribing. That would really help. Just do one of those 3 things. Really helps to slay that YouTube algorithm, and that would be awesome. All right, thanks again, and we will see you on the next one.